I never thought distance could sound like a goodbye disguised as self-care. When Emma first said she needed space, it came quietly, tucked between a sigh and a half-smile. We were sitting on the couch, a movie playing, her phone lighting up every few minutes. She didn't even look at me when she said it, just stared at the reflection of the TV on the coffee table and whispered, "I think I need a little distance. Jake, just to clear my head." At first I thought she meant a few days, maybe a weekend. Something small, something fixable. After all, I wasn't offering her drama or demands, I was offering her love. The kind that wakes up early to make coffee, remembers how she likes her toast slightly burnt, and texts good morning before meetings. But love, I've learned, means different things to different people. For Emma, love had become a weight. For me, it was oxygen. The days after that talk felt like a waiting room with no clock. She texted less, replied slower. I told myself she was busy. That space didn't mean distance of the heart, just distance of the mind. But love doesn't wait in silence forever. It starts to question, then ache, then break. I tried to fill the silence with noise, music, gym, friends, but every quiet moment found her name again. The way she'd laugh through her nose when something genuinely caught her off guard. The way she'd trace circles on my arm absent-mindedly while watching TV. Those details became ghosts. 2 weeks in, I suggested dinner. She said, "Let's not rush things." A month later, I called and got voicemail. By the second month, I stopped expecting her name on my phone at all. When you love someone, there's a strange kind of denial that protects you. You keep rewriting the story in your head. Maybe she's tired, maybe she's scared, maybe she just needs to remember what she has. But every story eventually runs out of maybes. The truth came quietly, as most truths do. One night, while scrolling through social media, I saw a picture, her at a concert standing beside someone new. His hand wasn't on her, but it didn't have to be. The way she leaned slightly toward him said everything. She wasn't searching for space. She was searching for somewhere else to belong. That's the kind of pain that doesn't explode, it erodes. You don't cry right away. You just sit still, feeling something heavy inside you collapse piece by piece. For the first time, I didn't text her, didn't call, didn't ask for an explanation. Instead, I went for a walk. It was late, cold, quiet, the kind of night where the streetlights hum louder than your thoughts. I walked until my feet ached, until the world stopped spinning around the word why. Somewhere between the 4th and 5th block, I realized something. She hadn't betrayed me. She'd just told the truth too late. And I hadn't been a fool for loving her. I'd just offered love to someone who couldn't hold it. That's when the distance started to shift. It wasn't something she gave me anymore. It was something I claimed. I started sleeping better little by little. My mornings weren't wrapped around waiting for a message. My apartment didn't feel as empty when I filled it with music again. I began noticing small things I hadn't seen in months. Sunlight spilling through blinds, the smell of coffee at dawn. The quiet joy of being alone without being lonely. Emma's silence had taught me something my love never could. Peace doesn't come from being understood. It comes from understanding when to stop explaining yourself. The last time she reached out was 3 months later. A simple text, "Hey, how have you been?" I looked at it for a long moment. My thumb hovered over the screen, heart steady, not racing. I could have replied. I could have reignited the same loop of almost love and almost communication. But instead I just smiled, because by then, I'd already turned her distance into something permanent, something quiet, and strong, and mine. I didn't reply to her text that night, or the next morning, or the next week. The message sat there like an old photograph, something you keep not because it means something anymore, but because it once did. There was a time I would have rushed to respond. I would have written long paragraphs trying to prove I still cared, that we could fix what was broken. But that part of me, the part that begged for closeness from someone walking away, was gone. Distance, I learned, doesn't always happen between two people. Sometimes it happens inside one. It starts as a small crack in your understanding of love and then grows into clarity. A month after her text, I ran into her at a coffee shop downtown. It was strange how ordinary it felt. She looked almost the same. Same jacket, same nervous smile, but the air between us was completely different. She said my name like she was testing how it felt on her tongue after a long absence. "Jake," she said softly. "It's been a while." "Yeah, I said and smiled politely. We talked for a few minutes, small things, surface level. The weather, work. She mentioned she'd been doing a lot of thinking lately. I nodded. People usually say that when they regret the simplicity of what they left behind. Then she looked at me, her eyes searching for something. You seem different, she said. I am, I replied. You asked for distance. I found what it meant. She didn't respond right away. There was a flicker of realization in her face. The quiet sting of recognizing that someone you thought would always wait has finally stopped. Before leaving, she said, maybe we could catch up sometime. I smiled again, but this time there was no hesitation. Maybe, I said. But we both knew that maybe was just a polite way of saying never. When she walked away, I didn't feel sadness or triumph. Just peace, real peace, the kind that doesn't come from forgetting someone, but from finally understanding them without needing to hold on. That night, I thought about the journey, the space she'd asked for, and the silence that followed. I realized that I hadn't lost anything. I'd been given something else entirely. Space had turned into self-respect. Silence had turned into clarity. Loneliness had turned into solitude. There's a difference between being alone and being abandoned. One hurts because it feels like punishment. The other heals because it feels like freedom. In the months that followed, I began to rebuild quietly. I reconnected with old friends, picked up hobbies I'd left behind. I started running again, cooking instead of ordering takeout, reading books that had been sitting untouched for years. I stopped waiting for life to resume and started living it. Sometimes, late at night, I'd remember her laugh or the sound of her voice saying my name. But those memories didn't hurt anymore. They were just reminders that love, even when it ends, leaves behind lessons in its echo. One evening I wrote her name in my notebook, then drew a single line through it. Not out of anger, just closure, because sometimes the only way to honor what something was is to finally let it stay in the past. People say distance kills love. I don't think that's true. I think distance reveals love's true form, whether it was dependence, comfort, or something real. In our case, it showed me that what I called love was mostly fear of losing her. Once the fear was gone, so was the illusion. Now when I think of her, I don't think of what we lost. I think of what I gained, the ability to stand alone and not feel empty. She taught me without meaning to that sometimes love isn't about holding on. Sometimes it's about learning when to let go gracefully, without resentment, without begging, without turning your pain into proof. The distance she asked for once felt like a wound. Now it's a horizon wide, calm, endless, a space where I can finally breathe without permission. So when people ask me what happened between us, I don't talk about heartbreak or betrayal. I just say she asked for distance. I gave it to her, and somewhere in that silence I found forever.